Look, I like Snowbreak Containment Zone. I hate 5-star Cirrus. If you like her design, that's perfectly fine. But ultimately to me, when it comes to a 5-star alternate, because that's what this basically is, a 5-star alternate variation of a 4-star we already have, such as Life versus already pre-existing Life. They're the exact same character, the exact same model, and so as such, they look relatively similar. In the case of Cherno, for example, yeah, her 5-star model has some increase to her chest size, but it's not dramatic. It's there and noticeable, especially if you're comparing it directly to a 4-star variation, but it is absolutely nothing to the comparison and change between 4-star Cirrus, who was hiding them somewhere, apparently, and her new 5-star variation. It's not necessarily a matter of, oh, the chest got bigger, or, oh, this is a slight hair length increase, like with Acacia Kaguya. Instead, this is a situation to where the entire model has changed. Hips widening, chest getting bigger, and I understand you may like this design. I think that's perfectly fine if you do. My issue inherently is, though, the fact that it is a character's entire model being changed out when it is still inherently being asked that they are the same character. This isn't a situation to where this is someone who is, relatively speaking, new, like Tess. Tess, for example, or even Echel and Katya are characters that don't have 4-star variations. So as such, they can do whatever they want with these characters, perfectly fine, doesn't bother me at all. But what does is when you take a character who has a completely different base model and then change them to a new model, because yeah, you can do the mindset of, oh, they've grown to a degree. But Cirrus was, I believe, our oldest operative. And so as a result, that doesn't necessarily carry. It'd be like if Phrygia here, as the 4-star variation, went to our 5-star variation, and instead of keeping the same general design, got like twice as tall, maybe the same height as Life, and had a completely new build. Yeah, I understand this may appeal to some individuals, but when it's the concept of a 4-star character being completely redesigned from the ground up to fit a new 5-star, that's a different story. Because this looks nothing like Cirrus, save for the color scheme and the hair. This body does not match Cirrus. The skin itself, I think the skin is fine, but once again, it doesn't fit Cirrus. And there's also a secondary issue in my opinion, and it is that the base system doesn't acknowledge this in the slightest. I'm not talking about just Cirrus, I'm talking about Cherno, I'm talking about any character with an alternate variation. The reason it works for characters like Life and Haru and so on, Haru to a lesser degree, is that the model is the same. So you don't have to do large shifting changes with a base model when, objectively speaking, it's the same character. The height is the same, the hair is the same, the chest is the same, everything is the same. But with Cherno, it's a increase to chest size that the base just doesn't acknowledge. When it comes down to characters like Cirrus, that is a dramatic difference, because hypothetically speaking, if you get Cirrus and you like that design, and maybe you don't like 4-star design, you're stuck with 4-star Cirrus in the base. When these two characters don't look similar enough to warrant them sharing the same name. And it sucks, because I know fan service works. I like Fenny's design here in this instance. I even like Yao's. And from extending this beyond, I think Katya's skin is perfect, strictly because it's Katya. This doesn't inherently change her. I really like this skin for Phrygia. I just wish you could actually purchase it and it wasn't locked behind 45 days of the Welcome Moon, but whatever. I think all of these are fine. It's just the issue of when a character's inherent base design is changed, and seemingly the only reason for that change being it's more eye candy, kind of sucks because it feels disingenuous. It also leads me and a couple of other individuals to kind of be worried, not necessarily that, oh, new designs will come out that don't necessarily appeal to individuals who maybe like smaller bodied characters, but more so that 4-star characters or characters who have these smaller bodies, these smaller chests, these smaller assets, will have that completely changed. Nobody wants a 4-star or an alternate variation of a 5-star that already exists because, hey, bigger boobs sell more. People want variety. If you're gonna do variety, you can have big chests, sure. Why not have a big ass? Why not go the cute and funny route of Blue Archive? Why not have more variety within your characters to the extent to where you don't feel like you're inherently rooting a character? Because yeah, I understand, you could just as well enjoy Cirrus in this instance, but Cirrus isn't an original character, she has a 4-star base. If they came up with a different character who had the exact same kit, perfectly fine. But when you start changing older characters, and you start changing relationships, because Cirrus was already removed from Chen Qing's story, it doesn't necessarily bode well long term, because then you bring in the question, well, is someone else going to get changed necessarily? Hypothetically speaking, you're enjoying your operators. Well, now you're kind of in a position to where, yeah, you really do like these characters, and you got attached to not only their design, but also subsequently their stories and their kits. And it's also a question of, will these be changed? Will this character have any semblance to their alternate variation? And it also becomes a scenario where pretty much every character in this game is basically judged on the value of how much damage are you offering. And if you're a DPS like Cherno in this instance, how much damage can you deal in a bursty format? If you're a supportive unit such as Moxia or her 5, how much of a buff are you giving? Edgewood is a supportive unit, she's meant to be a healer. If we don't necessarily have any use for healers, this brings the value of that unit down. Cirrus is a DPS, yes, but if every character is both increased not only in their assets and their chest size, but also in their damage department, then that kind of phases out these older units that people do like. And I understand that theoretically is natural, because you do want a natural inclination to where you either have that progressive power creep that inclines you to pull more characters, or you can do the alternative route, which is you just add more functions and mechanics to incentivize smarter play. I do not, for the life of me, understand why, for this event in particular, they decided, you know what's a good idea? Let's give a specific logistics set that can only be procced by Cirrus's 5-star variation. Why would anyone who's not going for this character farm for this logistics set? I understand that may be a benefit to those of you who don't want to have to get it just in case, but in that instance, this still makes no sense because this is an inflexible set. If, hypothetically, we had 4 slots, I could see a case being made for a 2-piece combination with something else, but we don't. And so there's no point getting this set at all. The weapon itself is fine, but if the weapon dealt kinetic damage, I could see it being useful on 4-star series. This is thermal damage. Great. I don't know. Overall, don't get me wrong, I like the game, it's fun, but there are slight issues that kind of leave me a bit concerned about the future outlook of the game, because I don't want to just leave away, but I'm also not necessarily sure if this game is going to continue going down the route of big chest, big butt, big hips, massive fan service. I'm fine with the fan service. I'm fine with the alternate outfits. I got Maid Cherno. I'm gonna get Phrygia for her battle damage skin, but I don't want the characters I like, and those characters who I do like, to be the only ones I can like in the future, because everyone is just going down the route of, hey, you know what would be great about this character? If we just upped their body proportions by like 10 to 20% more. Or, oh, you know what? This character's pretty flat. Let's do about 200% more chest for no explainable reason. Because, objectively speaking, these are supposed to be exosuits. A suit that you put on, but the character beneath is the same. Your tits don't grow because of a suit. But hey, that's just me. Tell me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you next time.